It's hard to believe it's been roughly a year since it was announced that Ash Ketchum would not be returning to the Pokemon anime in Generation 9. His Kanto journey was far from the best and most skilled, and today we're going to try and rectify that by taking on a Pokemon Yellow Hardcore Nuzlocke using only Pokemon that Ash had access to on his journey. The rules for this challenge are, I can only use Pokemon that Ash himself has obtained, although I will not be using Dragonite or Gengar from Journeys. I cannot use items in battle, and if a Pokemon faints, since this is a Nuzlocke, it is considered dead and cannot be used for the remainder of the run. Now, the additional Hardcore Nuzlocke rule is that obviously I will be taking on this challenge with level caps, meaning I cannot level up my Pokemon beyond the Gym Leader's Ace before the start of the battle. Anyways, without further ado, let's get on into the run and see if my Generation 1 knowledge is up to snuff, as I try to see if Ash Ketchum could beat a Pokemon Yellow Hardcore Nuzlocke. Since the game was literally based on the anime, we of course start with a Pikachu that we aren't able to evolve. And now one little additional challenge I want to add to this run is that I think I want to keep Pikachu on my team, and I'm really going to try my best to prevent it from dying early on in the run. It's not really an Ash Ketchum run if you're not using Pikachu, so as long as Pikachu is alive, it's going to be on my team. Without further ado though, it's time to take on our rival Gary, and of course I do believe that Pikachu is a decent bit better than Eevee, especially with access to Stab Thundershock. And as Eevee likes to just not attack and spam Tail Whip, we can easily take it out damageless, growing to level 6 and taking out Gary for the first time in this run. That battle doesn't really count for Nuzlocke purposes, but I do always like to win it, because getting the additional experience, and also winning the fight easily shows that your Pokemon at least has decent IVs. Now, another thing I'm allowing myself to do is, if I'm not able to catch a Pokemon that Ash didn't technically own, like for example, he owned a Primeape, but not a Mankey, I'm allowing myself to catch the Mankey, but not actually use it until I reach a level cap where I can evolve the Pokemon. Same thing with Pidgey here, although I can catch Pidgeotto at a 1% rate, I'd rather just catch Pidgey and then wait till the level cap to use Pidgeotto. That's just my personal preference. If you don't like it, then I'm sorry. Anyways, I catch myself a Caterpie, evolve it up into Butterfree, and without further ado, it is time to take on the Rock-type Gym Leader, Brock. Now, unlike the anime here, we don't have access to Sprinklers, but we do have access to a pretty decent special attack stat with Butterfree, and also access to a decent special move, that being Confusion. And if you know anything about Brock's rock types, you know they have absolutely horrendous special, meaning that we can take it out with a few confusions. Onix sucks, misses a tackle, and at level 12, Butterfree easily cleans out the rock type gym leader, getting Ash Ketchum an actual legitimate gym badge. Since the level cap reaches 21, we can evolve Pidgeotto at level 18, just in time to take on Jesse and James here in Mount Moon. Now, I always forget about this fight because I'm used to playing Fire Red and Leaf Green where there's no fight at the end of this tunnel, but it's really not that bad. I can lead Pidgeotto, which has pretty good stats for this point in the game, and stab Quick Attack's doing pretty good damage into Ekans, Coughing, and Meowth, meaning that even though we get poisoned by Coughing, Quick Attack slowly but surely is taking out the floating poison ball, whatever Coughing's supposed to be, as we pick up a dub over Team Rocket, allowing us to head over to Cerulean City and pick up our next Pokemon, that being Bulbasaur. Now, a lot of people don't know this, surprisingly, but if you just spam a potion on a full health Pikachu, it treats it as if you're feeding it the potion, and it raises its little happiness meter. As you can see, after I talk to Pikachu here, it's nice and happy. It says it's at its max happiness. I can talk to this lady, and she will see that I'm a good trainer, gifting me a free grass and poison type, that being Bulbasaur. Now, obviously, we can't evolve Bulbasaur as Ash never evolved his, but at least for the next little bit in the game, it's going to be pretty solid to have stab grass damage, especially into the Water-type gym leader, Misty. Now, before we take on Misty, I like to take on the second rival fight against Gary, having a little bird battle here as Pidgeotto takes out Spearow rather easily. I say it against Sandshrew, but it starts going for Sand Attack, which, although it is a ground-type move, can affect flying types. After missing Quick Attack over and over and over again, eventually I'm going to have to switch. I stubbornly try to stay in because Generation 1 is weird, and I think I can hopefully get a critical hit or something and break through, but I can't. In comes Bulbasaur for his debut battle, and obviously Vine Whip takes out the ground type in one more hit. Rattata comes in, but Vine Whip is an easy 2-hit with Tail Whips in between, leading to Eevee. Now, although I'm at -2 defense, I don't think it's really safe to stay in for a stab tackle, and as you can see, that crit did a lot of damage to Pikachu. I could survive one more, so I stay in and go for a Thunder Shock. And weirdly enough, Eevee just never attacks again, failing Tail Whips and Growls over and over again, allowing Pikachu to win the starter battle and earn the right to take on Nugget Bridge, picking up some more experience for the gym battle. Next up, I can pick up a Charmander here, which is going to be one of the keystones to this run, because Ash does have a Charizard, meaning that I can evolve this thing to its final form. Thank God I get some Pokemon that can evolve to their final form, or else I don't think this would be possible. Another really weird thing about Pokemon, I know I talk about this in my Fire Red runs a lot too, but why is Bill combining himself with a Pokemon, and why did the developers think this was something that was completely normal? I get this is Generation 1 and they haven't done anything like this since, but it's just so strange that they would put this in the game. Anyway, with that aside, we can take on the Water-type gym leader, Misty, next, and even though Ash didn't want to use Pikachu in his fight against her, I ain't got no problem with it, and also he didn't have Bulbasaur, but I do, because I'm smart and I'm an epic Nuzlocker and I'm the best player ever. 2 Vine Whips obviously polish off Staryu here, leading into Starmie, Journey. But since Misty is just stupid, she spams X Defends and Harden over and over again, despite the fact that I'm using a special move in Vine Whip. I just say, yep, Harden, Vine Whip, get a crit there. Leech Seed drains some damage, goes for Harden again, and one more Vine Whip. Completes the Bulbasaur sweep, earning Ash a second legitimate gym badge, something he was not able to do in his Kanto journey. Next up is the Cerulean City Rocket. And this fight actually can be kind of hard, considering as I'm a Chop and a Drowsy. Most of the Pokemon we've been fighting thus far outside of gyms have been like Pidgey, Rattata, Caterpie, and Weedle, so these two Pokemon can give you some kind of trouble if your team's under-leveled. Thankfully though, since I'm an epic Nuzlocker who cheats and uses rare candies, we're at the level and we can defeat the Rocket, denying Bulbasaur's evolution, and getting us TM28 Dig. Now, before the next level cap, I can evolve Charmander into Charmeleon, and I finally evolve our Mankey into Primeape, adding it to the team. I don't learn Rage because Rage is like the worst move in Pokemon, but after teaching Primeape Dig, you'll see why he's useful later. Another rival battle versus Gary here on the SSN. We can lead Pikachu and one-shot his Spearow with Thunder Shock. Rattata goes onto a crit in one hit, leading into Sandshrew, but obviously we can't do anything to the ground type because this isn't the anime. We bring in Bulbasaur though. We can go for the super effective Vine Whip, and it one-shots the Shrew in one hit, leading into Eevee. This Eevee has actually done low-key a lot of work into our team, but thankfully we had to Leech Seed on it before it hits us with a Sand Attack. Butterfree also gets Sand Attack, since I don't want to deal with the accuracy drop, I switch again. This time I elected to go back into Pikachu, but Tackle does pretty good damage. Thankfully Leech Seed gets us some recovery, meaning we can take a few more. But not feeling safe to stay in, I like to switch again, this time going into our good old trusty friend Butterfree, but we get Sand Attacked on the switch once again. I get tired of switching out over and over again. And with Leech Seed Chip, even though we miss, eventually we take out the Eevee, earning us the victory over Gary for the third time, and getting us the right to pick up the HM for Cut. And another really weird Generation 1 thing. Who thought it was normal to have your 10-year-old player character rub some old man's back to get cut? Like, what? This whole little, you know, Badge 2, Badge 3 section is filled with just weird stuff that I have no idea why the developers thought were okay to put in a kid's game. Anyways, I teach Cut to Bulbasaur because it's not going to be on my team for that much longer, and you don't really need Cut past, like, the 4th gym in this game, so I have no problem teaching it to my starter Pokemon before taking on Lieutenant Surge. Now, if you thought this was going to be an interesting battle, you're wrong. X Speed, we go underground, and 100 base power dig, one-shots the Rat in one hit, getting us our 3rd gym badge. This gives us the badge boost for defense, I'm fairly certain, which is pretty useful, and yeah, I have no idea why Surge sucks so bad in yellow. He has random AI, uses X speeds all the time, and has one Pokemon. Next up is Erica, and we do have pretty decent Pokemon into our team. We have Pidgeotto and of course Charmeleon, but unfortunately for us though, we have no good stab, as Charmeleon's best stab is base 40 Ember. I believe Ember's base 40, and Pidgeotto has Wing Attack, which although in other generations would be pretty good at base 60 power, it is base 35 power. And Generation 1 for some reason, making it identical to Peck. I'm able to take out Tangela and Weepinbell pretty effectively, but as Gloom comes in, I have to switch to Pidgeotto. Gloom does have access to Acid, which has the ability to drop our defense, meaning if it hit one more, we would have probably gone down there. I'm also going to Butterfree, and since Bug is weak to Poison in Generation 1, which I forgot about, and Acid does big damage and gets the defense drop, but thankfully it just misses a Stun Spore on the switch, and one base 100 power neutral dig downs the Gloom, getting us our 4th Kanto gym badge. Primeape has been surprisingly really good in this run, and I'm low-key really glad I picked it up. I realized I forgot to pick up Squirtle earlier on the run, but this thing is not going to be useful, as you'll see later. I mean, you might think it would be useful for Surf or whatever, but just wait and see. Next up is the rival in Lavender Tower. Now, although I forgot to edit my overlay to say that we have 4 badges and the level cap is actually 50 at this point, you can really safely overlevel for him as he's meant to be fought before Erica, but thanks to the open world nature of Generation 1, you can take on most things in whatever order you want, meaning that I could really safely overlevel him by like 20 and not be risking going over the level cap. This fight, like I said, is not much of an issue. We can go for a guaranteed crit Karate Chops on his Shelder, stay in versus Sandshrew, guaranteed crit almost gets the Oko, we miss, but thankfully one more gets the job done. Last but not least is his good old trusty friend Eevee, who he has not evolved yet, but we can go for a base 100 power dig, which one-shots the cat, dog, fox thing, earning us the victory over rival number 4, and taking us on to the top of Lavender Tower, where we can fight the Ghost Marowak. Now, one funny thing about this, if you use a Pokédoll on it, you can just completely avoid getting the Silph Scope, saving you a bunch of time, earning the right to take on Jesse and James atop Lavender Tower. Now, in Red and Blue, and also Fire Red and Leaf Green, you have to take on a gauntlet of like really annoying Rockets with a bunch of Zubats and Rattata, which take forever to clear. But thankfully here in Yellow, we just have to take on one fight against 3 Pokemon. I'd like to teach Agility in favor of Double Team, as I can use this for badge boosting later in the run. If you ever watched a Generation 1 solo run on YouTube, which I watch a lot of in my spare time, you can see how useful that can be. We get poisoned by Smog on Weezing, meaning we can't get the Pikachu sweep for thematic anime reasons, unfortunately. But Primeape can take on the future Levitator with one more dig, earning us a victory over Team Rocket and earning us the Poke Flute, which is going to get us an absolutely cracked encounter pretty soon. Now, although this is an Orange Islands encounter, many consider that to be part of Ash's Kanto journey, technically, and I'm going to use it because Snorlax is an absolutely busted Pokemon, and I want to get a team of fully evolved Mons if I want this run to be deathless. After switching around a ton and getting Snorlax asleep from its own rest, I eventually catch it in a Great Ball, getting us probably one of the best Pokemon of Generation 1. Now, since the level cap has raised, I can evolve Pidgeotto into Pidgeot and Charmeleon into Charizard, getting us 2 flyers, but we're taking on, in my opinion, the hardest battle of the mid-game, that being rival number 5 here in Silph. Now, forgetting he doesn't lead with Fearow anymore, I stay in with Primeape against Sandslash, which isn't the right move. We're switching to Pidgeot on a Slash. Now, if you're above base 64 speed in Generation 1, high crit rate moves are guaranteed to crit, meaning that every time Sandslash uses Slash, it's going to crit. Now, I take a page out of its own book using Sand Attack with my Pidgeot a few times, lowering its accuracy before going into Snorlax. He does crit a Poison Sting, but it does like 2 damage. Swift isn't doing anything either, and even though we get Sand Attacked, we break through to land a Body Slam, taking out the Sandslash once and for all. In comes Cloyster here. Now, Cloyster doesn't have particularly good special, so I can go for Thunderbolt here with Pikachu. And since I'm confused, I'd like to stay in and gamble, which pays off as the confusion does not activate and we take out the Bivalve with a little more Thunderbolt. Next up is Magneton, and we can go for a base 100 power dig. This move is so busted in Generation 1, one-shotting the pile of magnets with a super effective hit. In comes Karate Chop, guaranteed crit, takes out the frail defensive Kadabra, and another dig polishes off Flareon, getting us a deathless win over rival number 5. Now, while that might be cool, what's even cooler is the fact that we get access to Lapras, another key Pokemon from Ash's Orange Islands journey, but hey, it's busted, I'm using it, and we can get ourselves pretty good damage there, especially with Ice Beam and Surf on it later on. But later on is not yet. Currently we have to deal with Jesse and James, and this fight is never hard in Generation 1. Unfortunately, I get poisoned by Wheezing instantly, but we take a Sludge with 99 HP, and down the Sludge Ball thing with another Body Slam. And it comes Arbok. I switch to Butterfree, who has pretty good Psychic damage, and I can go for Psybeam. A weak Poison Sting connects, but a second Psybeam finishes off the Snake, leading into Meowth. But Meowth, obviously not that great, and 2 more Psybeams get the job done, showing that Butterfree, hey, still kind of useful. Maybe you shouldn't release yours, Ash. Next up is Giovanni, and this fight usually isn't that difficult. Giovanni just really sucks in general. A Body Slam and Headbutt combo take care of Nidorino. Now, we did take pretty good damage from Double Kick. Persian comes in, so I like to switch into Primeape, who has super effective damage with Low Kick. Bite connects for soft damage. It looks like Low Kick will be a 2-shot. Thankfully it is, as Giovanni loves to waste time going for Guard Specs. In comes Rhyhorn, so I switch into Lapras, and obviously I can go for a super effective Ice Beam, base 90 power, stab, super effective, easy one-shot. In comes Nidoqueen, whose best damaging move here is Double Kick. It's going to go for it every time because of quote-unquote good AI in Generation 1, always going for super effective moves. As we live on 77 HP, down the Nidoqueen, and earn ourselves the win over Giovanni. Now, my Fire Red runs, I always really struggle in the Safari Zone, so before doing Rayquaza, I finally actually learned the proper route through this place, so I don't have to go through it like 3 times, wasting a bunch of time. And as you can see here, I just speed this up uncut to show you I actually know how to get through the Safari Zone. Getting the Gold Teeth and getting Surf, immediately teaching it to Lapras, giving it an absolutely busted base 95 power stab move. I have no idea why they made the HMs all so bad and made Surf so good. Anyways, time to fight Koga, and although my Charizard's poisoned, as you can see here in Generation 1, you don't take poison damage when you knock out a Pokemon in 1 hit, and Flamethrower is enough to easily polish off all 3 Venonat, leading into Venomoth. Now, I easily could have stayed in here. As you can see, Venomoth goes for a Toxic even though I'm already poisoned. That's a Generation 1 AI for you. But Snorlax here can set up with Amnesia, which boosts your special by 2 stages. This is a combined stat. It means we're not only doing more damage with Psychic, but taking less damage from Venomoth's Psychic. I play overly cautious here. I could have easily got the KO with Psychic, but I like to go for a Rest and then switch out, which is just an objectively really stupid play. But thankfully, because it's Generation 1, it's unpunished. Venomoth just wastes time going for Leech Life, and 1 more Surf from Lapras gets the job done, earning us our 5th Kanto Gym Badge. That was really easy, and I've been playing super loose and super risky in this run, and I'm still deathless because the Generation 1 AI is so bad. Speaking of bad AI, here's Sabrina, and although we don't even need to see it, as Slash easily one-shots both of her Abra and Kadabra in 1 hit due to its bad defenses, and since she has completely random AI, she just wastes time going for the absolutely useless Psywave, meaning that 4 single slashes from Game Freak's favorite Pokemon take out Sabrina and get us an easy deathless 6th Kanto Gym Badge. Now, here in the Pokemon Mansion, I like to catch a Grimer for the same reason I caught Pidgey instead of Pidgeotto. Muck is a really low percent encounter, and I'm too lazy to search for it, so you don't like that, too bad, I'm sorry. I'm not using it anyways right now, so without further ado, it is time to take on the Fire-type Gym Leader, Blaine. Now, for some reason, I lead Charizard. I'm sure that was probably a mistake. I did this entire run in 1 sitting, so I was kind of getting sick of it at this point. Blaine, fortunately, kind of sucks, going for retroactive Super Potions a ton, meaning a couple slashes get the job done. Rapidash survives 2 and goes for a fire spin. Since we get trapped in it for a little bit, that kind of sucks, but thankfully we break through it and take out the Fire Horse with one more slash. In comes Arcanine, and I have no idea why I just didn't lead with Lapras and get the easy one hit with Surf on all of his Pokemon. I like to stay in and go for a Body Slam, which does peanuts of damage since Arcanine burned with a Fire Blast. I go into Primate for some reason and take a ton from a Flamethrower. I probably could have outsped in one shot with Dig, but to be safe, I go into Lapras, finally smarten up, and I like to go for Surf on the Fire Dog, taking Flamethrower with 58 HP and getting us a deathless 7th gym badge over Blaine. That was just really stupid play. I have no idea why I just didn't just sit down and take a break at this point. But you know what is always a break? The fight versus Giovanni, because Giovanni is absolutely terrible. Whether it's red, blue, yellow, fire red, leaf green, Japanese blue, doesn't matter. Giovanni is absolutely terrible. He's even worse in Generation 1 because he just wastes time going for useless guard specs. I'm going to be honest with you. I played a lot of Pokemon, I have no idea what a guard spec even does, and I'm too lazy to look it up, because I'm too busy one-shotting all of his Pokemon with Surf, getting the easiest gym badge of my life, and earning the right for Ash Ketchum's team to take on the Kanto Elite Four. If this proves anything, it proves, hey, it's the trainer, not the Pokemon themselves. Anyways, before heading to the Indigo Plateau, we got our little champion preview battle taking on rival number 6 here. I remember he leads with Sandslash finally, and be able to easily polish it off with one single super effective Surf, as the unevolved Execute goes down to a single super effective Ice Beam. That thing can low-key cause problems sometimes, though, I'm not gonna lie. And comes Cloyster, which is a lot worse than his Gyarados in Red, Blue, Fire, Red, and Leaf Green, and a single super effective Thunderbolt takes it out in one hit, leading it to Magneton. Now, I stupidly forget that Magneton is not a Steel type, meaning Fire type damage is neutral in Generation 1. Thankfully, it just goes for Thunder Wave. I'm able to hit a single super effective Dig, one-shotting the pile of magnets, leading into Kadabra, who, just like the whole entire run, goes down into one Karate Chop, and Flareon. I misclick and go for Dig. I end up getting trapped in Fire Spin, but thankfully you can switch out of it in Generation 1. I actually didn't know that. And even though I'm paralyzed, there's nothing Flareon can actually do to Charizard, meaning 2 more slashes get the job done, and finally earn us the right to head to Victory Road and take on the Indigo Plateau, trying to see if Ash Ketchum's team can truly become the champion of Kanto. Now, before the Elite Four, I do finally say bye-bye to Butterfree, just like Ash did, adding Muck to the squad. Now, although Muck isn't the best Pokemon in the world, I fed it special enhancing vitamins and taught it both Thunderbolt and Fire Blast, meaning that it should do pretty solid special damage into a lot of the members of the Elite Four, especially Lorelei, who's usually a challenge, with a solid Thunderbolt spammer with good bulk. I feel like her battle will be a lot more manageable. Although, instead of talking about it, how about we see it for ourselves? Ash Ketchum versus the Elite Four. First up is Lorelei. Now, I have so much trouble with Lorelei and Fire Red and Leaf Green, but thankfully in these games, due to AI being terrible, she's a lot more manageable. Dugong is paralyzed from a Thunderbolt, meaning we can outspeed and take it out with one more, leading into Cloyster. Now, we almost get the Oko. I like to go for Sludge for some reason, which doesn't matter because we get Frozen. And if you know anything about Generation 1, that's it for Muck. You cannot get defrosted unless you get hit with a Fire move, which obviously a Water and Ice type trainer does not have access to that. I end up going into Charizard, which is probably not the best play, but we do outspeed and take it out with a Flamethrower. Slowbro comes in though, and threatening with Surf, we are forced to switch. Snorlax though has pretty good special and can tank the hit, setting up Amnesia. And although we don't have good super effective damage, you get a special drop with Psychic, meaning that 2 more can get the job done, although I do switch to Ice Beam to save power points. I didn't actually pick up any elixirs throughout this run, which is kind of stupid of me. It's not gonna matter here though, since Jinx has like 2 defense, a single stab Body Slam gets the job done, leading into Lapras. But Hydro Pump gets a critical hit, leaving Snorlax on 15 HP. I said Lorelei was bad, but dang, a stab crit Hydro Pump from Lapras, that did a heck of a lot of damage, and Snorlax is lucky to be alive. I switch out a Lapras of my own for an honor battle, managing to crit a Body Slam. I don't think that Lapras' crit rate is like super high or anything, but it's probably around 15% if I had to guess. I'll put it up on screen later on, hopefully, if I remember. I get a Paralysis with the Body Slam, then I eventually do take out Lorelei's Lapras, getting us a deathless victory over the first member of the Elite Four, but dang. That was one heck of a fight, and I am so glad that I didn't lose Snorlax. Next up is Bruno, and if you ever watch any Generation 1 solo run content on YouTube, you know this guy is absolutely terrible. I go for a low kick on Onix, which is objectively the wrong move, but thankfully it doesn't actually do any damage. Crit Karate Chop does pretty solid damage into Hitmonchan, getting the 2-shot. In comes Hitmonlee, who is slightly more defensive, I think. I'm actually wrong, it is slightly less defensive than Hitmonchan. Anyways, 2 crit Karate Chops get the job done. In comes Onix, and Dig is the better choice here. It just misses a Slam, which is a horrible move, by the way. Like 75 power, 80 accuracy or something. Generation 1 was on crack when they made that. In comes Machamp, and I can easily just switch into Muck, which resists fighting. Machamp's best move is 80 power submission, which is absolutely nothing to Muck, meaning 3 Sludges can get the job done, earning us an easy deathless battle over Bruno. Bruno's always easy, ain't no exception even in a Nuzlocke, as we can now take on the Lowdery, the Ghost and Poison type trainer, that being Agatha. Although this feels wrong, we can take out our Levitating Ghost with base 100 power, super effective dig. Golbat obviously is immune, but we have Rock Slide for it. She just goes for a useless retroactive super potion, and one more Rock Slide gets the job done. In comes Haunter, gets digged in one hit. Next up is Arbok. I think probably could survive a dig. Thankfully it does not. And last but not least is Gengar, who obviously doesn't have the best defenses in the world, and one more Primeape dig gets the one shot, earning an easy, damageless sweep of Agatha with our fighting type monkey. Next up is Lancelot. I do honestly find him to be a little bit harder in the Kanto games than in the Johto games. He leads off with Gyarados, and I lead with Primeape accidentally. I meant to lead with Pikachu, but honestly, it doesn't really end up mattering. They do have super effective Rock Slide, and Gyarados just fails a Leer, meaning two 90% accurate Rock Slides connects, downing the water and flying type, leading into Dragonair. Now, since Dragonair isn't very good, I decided to switch into Snorlax and try to set up an Amnesia sweep. Now, obviously, Amnesia boosts Special, which is both Special Attack and Special Defense, meaning it's a free +2 Calm Mind. Now, unfortunately for us, Dragonair does paralyze us with Thunder Wave, but since Snorlax has pretty good bulk, it is pretty safe to stay in and set up with Amnesia, downing the Dragon type with one single Ice Beam. The second Dragonair is considerably more annoying with Wrap and Hyper Beam, and as you can see, a critical hit Hyper Beam leaves Snorlax on a thread. Thankfully, we connect with Ice Beam, one-shotting it, but dang. That is the second time Snorlax has survived with an absolute minimal amount of HP from a critical hit move. Lapras can come in though and finish out the fight, but I am so glad Snorlax is still alive, as I think it's going to be pretty key into the champion, most likely, with his immense bulk. Anyways, we're deathless thus far. We've taken on 8 gyms and 4 elite members without losing a single Pokemon. But it all comes down to this. Ash Ketchum, Gary Oak here for the championship of Kanto. He obviously leads with Sand Slash, and Lapras is easily able to wipe it off the map with a single stab super effective Surf. In comes Alakazam, who obviously is probably the best Pokemon in Generation 1, and goes for a Psychic, getting a special drop. I decided to gamble and stay in and go for a Body Slam, but we can't quite finish the job. He goes for Psybeam, which does have less power, but gets the confusion and we hit ourselves, meaning we definitely can't stay in now, as even a Psybeam would take us out. Pikachu comes in and takes a Psychic with 16 HP, allowing a priority Quick Attack to take out the best Pokemon in Gen 1, leading into Executor. Now, if you don't have super effective damage for this thing, it is pretty powerful, but thankfully we have Charizard, and as chip damage from Barrage connects, we survive in Green Bar, allowing us to take it out with one more Flamethrower, leading into Magneton. Now, I decided to go into Primeape here, and obviously, as you've seen throughout the run, whether it's a Magnemite or a Magneton, Dig has been able to one-shot it. I go underground, Swift connects, because it can connect through invulnerable turns too in Generation 1, and Dig does not one-shot, meaning our deathless run is over, as Magneton takes out Primeape with a Thunderbolt. I was so mad about this, as I was literally so close to getting a deathless run. Thankfully, Pikachu can come in and clean up with Quick Attack, go for chip damage with Thunderbolt, and Aurora Beam downs our starter. Thank you for your service, Pikachu. You've been the best. That's now 2 deaths here in the champion battle, but there's no time to give up now, as I go for Fly, which is the objectively wrong move, taking out Cloyster. But the reason why I elected to do that is because Flareon can't touch Charizard, and guaranteed crit slashes from Game Freak's favorite Pokemon makes us the champion of Kanto. I'm pretty mad that I got 2 deaths here in the champion run, but I'm not about to reset the run now. We got ourselves the dub, and we were deathless through 99% of the run. Now, this is a pretty fun run to do. Ash Ketchum had himself some good Pokemon in Kanto, I'm not gonna lie. Muck, Lapras, Snorlax, Charizard, and Primeape are all pretty good, and hey, Pikachu, it's not buffed like it is in Generation 7 Let's Go. This is a box standard Pikachu, and it low-key put in a lot of work against random trainer battles. Fun fact, Pikachu in Yellow is the only Pokemon in Generation 1 that has access to Thunderbolt by level up, meaning I was able to give my TM to Muck, was able to do pretty good damage into Lorelei in the Elite Four fight. I usually find Lorelei to be pretty difficult, and unfortunately Muck I think would have done pretty good work into the rest of the fight if he didn't get frozen. But hey, that's broken Generation 1 freeze for you. You will never de-thaw unless you get hit by a fire move. Extremely strange, but hey, that's why Game Freak changed it in Generation 2, and although personally I think freeze is still a pretty bad status condition to this day, Frostbite in Legends Arceus was far better. Whatever, it is what it is. Anyways, if you guys like this video, please be sure to subscribe. I had a lot of fun making this, and if you want to see more Hardcore Nuzlocke content in the future, let me know in the comments below. Appreciate you all, and hope you guys have a good day. Goodbye.